Yes, sir.
How can I be protected from the scammers as described in the recent issue of the New Brighton Bulletin?
What scammers are they?
They call up and they say, send money. Send me money for some reason, some fictitious reason, etc. And the article said that there's essentially no chance of catching these people or prosecuting.
Yeah. You know, I think your instinct is right. I suspect you have a sense of this. Hanging up the phone, asking for things in writing. Don't respond to that that pressure on the phone. There is fraud. There is fraud, and there is a need to regulate against fraud. But so much of it can be stopped by not yielding to those sorts of pressures and hanging up the
My father-in-law has lost $100,000
Oh dear.
and he just refuses to.
Yeah. Well, that's very difficult. That's very, very difficult. I think there's a certain trust that most older people have in others that is very admirable. Is a great way to live, but it exposes
It's kind of that generation, like you and I and everybody else in this room. We just, when we hear a phone call, it just bang. We don't even hesitate, but they engage. They engage.
And it's an admirable thing. It's a respectful thing, but it does put people in vulnerable positions.
In the case he's talking about, though, this person actually knew the daughter's name, the wife's name, and he said, your daughter is in jail in Texas right now, and she needs bail money. And it was a process. So he happens to be an investigator himself from years and years and years ago. This man is in his 80s. And so he played along for a very long time and recorded it. And so that's, I mean, he knew it was a scam because he knew where his daughter was. But there are some people whose daughters are somewhere else. But this gentleman, whoever called, knew exactly all the family members and names, and I don't know how.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Related to this discussion, I think the key point is that the solution is not a new regulation, because guess what? There are already laws and regulations to be able to prosecute actions like that. So the fact that it's difficult to prosecute doesn't get changed by yet another law. We're not going to solve anything by yet another statute or regulation.
The trouble is the officials don't help. Like he lives in Crystal, so the Crystal police came over, detectives came over, but nothing happens. Nothing happens.
That's very sad. Yeah. Is that, I don't know, was my answer satisfying?
Well, I was not looking for an answer, I was looking for a discussion.
Yeah. So it's a very good question, and it does, as April points out, it does raise some important points. So, yes?
As far as economic freedom, you were talking about all the problems that the New Deal caused.
Yes.
This new financial reform that the Obama administration passed, do you see a lot of problems with that?
Yeah.
Or I bet a lot of it hasn't been written yet.
The bank regulations and things like that. I think there'll be lots of litigation.
Yeah, because I heard it could even affect people personally as far as
the TCF, for example. TCF is currently suing the Treasury. I think it's the department that has put out these bank regulations, because they have undermined TCF's entire business model in terms of the way it charges customers, and they also have this funny that these regulations don't kick in until you're over $10 billion in assets. I think TCF is $12 billion in assets. So if it were to shrink, it could keep its business model, but the fact that it's $2 billion or so over that subjects it to these regulations. And I think this is an example of Citibank and others involved in mortgage-backed securities were part of the problem associated with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all those incentives. You put in a new set of regulations, and look what happens. Well, a viable institution in Minnesota and the Midwest is potentially undermined by these regulations.
Kind of like government-solutions.
It is kind of like placing blame elsewhere, right? Well, this has been fun. Yes, sir, Bob.
One question. I was just kind of reading on the internet today that the Indiana Supreme Court ruled that the police have the right to do warrantless searches, even though the police are performing an unlawful act. They said that the warrantless searches are okay, and that a sheriff or something is now going to conduct routine warrantless searches of homes.
Really?
There is a sheriff who has declared he's going to use this ruling to back up his efforts at routine warrantless searches. It came down in the last couple of weeks, and I read the opinion. It's the thing that bounced out at me was the majority's contention that 43 states since the 60s have said that, at least under their state law, that there is no right. What the issue precisely was: is there a right to resist unlawful entry by officials, government officials? So, and it looked like the defense had not argued under federal grounds. They seemed to have pinned all their hopes on state constitutional grounds. And the Supreme Court, even though there were appellate rulings in place in Indiana saying that there was this right, they decided that basically in fact they came out and said it was public policy grounds, said we're going to declare this right no longer valid in Indiana.
All right. Well, I think this is the stuff of a more fact-specific discussion.
It was partly because it was a domestic violence case. There was that factor, for sure.
All right. Because, it's the general rule of the Fourth Amendment is that there is no place more secure than your home. You don't have a lot of privacy rights at the airport. You have no privacy rights at the airport. You have fewer privacy rights in your car, but at your home, you have the maximum amounts of rights. So there must be some. It's an interesting case, Bob. I'm not familiar with it, but I suspect there's a lot to it. But I will look it up.
Okay.
Off topic.
Yes, sir.
What do you think of the seatbelt law?
I think the seatbelt law is doesn't make a lot of sense in that it is protecting me from against myself, and I don't think that's the role of similar to the smoking ban or helmets on motorcycles.
I'm going to court with that because I just.
Are you?
Yeah, myself and my wife, who were wearing seatbelts, just got tickets.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to take you with.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, this has been fun for me. Thank you. You have great questions. So thanks. So our website is ij.org. You have my phone number and email address, and we do get about half of our cases come from people who say, this doesn't make sense, can you take a look at us? So there is a call or email or go to the website. There is a form to submit cases to, and it'd be fun to continue the discussion with you. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.